Got that Free State of Jones in the back. Got the Free State. You can't only gonna show a little bit of motherfucker get restricted. Shit. Talking about unoriginal facts. You know, we're gonna keep it over here. He removed. You know, it said, though 1,000 generations pass, he never forgets his promise. You know, he prepared the spirit for us. That's a guarantee. All we had to do is open up our eyes and see and accept the instructions and the words of wisdom. You know, without opening up the books, that's like a form of rejection. You have to open up the books and read them for yourself. If not, then you just reject them. Go to the other devotion. We're still on that though, 90 million. Today is mathematics. Today is science. Ignore or deny. You can ignore it or deny it. Still don't make it better. Ignore, deny, or accept the truth. Accept the facts. Follow the yellow brick road. Adult literacy. States lack the literacy necessary for dealing effectively with modern life. You see there it is. That's it right there. Lost my damn bookmark. What the hell? Know what I be talking about, man. Motherfuckers lame. That's what it is. Niggas are true lames. Yeah, pretty much. Damn. I lost my damn book. How you do that? How you lose the bookmark? Let's say 90 million. Alright. I'm gonna put this over here to the side. I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna read this other devotion. This other devotion. Let's say June 18. Saying, a man shall be as an hiding place for the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Isaiah 32:2. This text is a beautiful and precious prophecy of Christ. He is the only man who is the real and eternal hiding place. When the hurricanes of the judgments of God go over the world, when his wrath and anger against sin are revealed, to whom shall we go? There is only one hiding place. This man, who is God himself, this man, the man of sorrow, fulfilled all righteousness. To whom else shall we go? He is calling us. He is inviting us. Come unto me, all ye who labor, who labor and are heavy laden. Matthew 11:28. There is eternal safety in him. There is a wonderful rest in him, in his perfect righteousness, in his eternal perfect love. Wonderful rest in him, in his perfect righteousness, in his eternal perfect love. Therefore, he is also a covert from the tempest. The word tempest can only mean flood. At what point the flood of the wrath of God went over the sinful world, no one was spared except those who were in the ark, Noah his son, and their wives. Therefore we are called to hide ourselves in the only place of safety against the tempest, the flood of God's eternal wrath. And they're talking about the flood, and God flooded the world. So God was operating, I guess, in amity maritime jurisdiction. So that's really God's water. That's God's law. The flood, God's eternal wrath, we can only escape by faith, believing that we are eternally lost outside this covert and that we are safe in this covert God has given. This is my only begotten Son, in whom I am pleased. Hear him. What an eternal wonder that God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten Son to be our only refuge and covert. How terrible to deny and reject such a wonderful covert. But this man is also as rivers in a dry place. Our soul is so dry, fruitless, and barren. But when this man pours out his waters on our soul, everything changes. The fruits of the Spirit become visible in our life. We will be green and verdant to proclaim that the Lord is good. Even in old age, we will bear rich fruit. Christ is also the shadow of a great rock in weary land. When the sun is burning in full heat, because it's hot than a motherfucker out here, you feel that shit in your belly. We cannot stand before the holy anger of God, who is consuming fire. But here's the rock. Remember the rock I was talking about? In his shadow you shall sing joyfully. There you experience safety and love. There you hide yourself until you are with him in eternal glory. That's today's devotion. A man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. That covert operation that's going on. And that's what they doing. Right. They hiding and covering up God's information, God's secrets, and making them to, secrets and mysteries, his gospel. And they turn into secrets and mysteries and spells. So by taking a lot of this information away from the public and only leaving it in the private, then it's leaving it up to the private citizens to continue to work the will on earth. And this is how I do it. I find pictures, find words, things that can help you see well. But that's the covert operation. His perfect righteousness and his eternal perfect love. Therefore, he is also a covert from the tempest. The word tempest can also mean flood. And that's the water, Amity Maritime Jurisdiction. Let me put that on there. What it say? Flood. And that's what it say, right? Tempest can also mean flood. I'm gonna see if we can make that a little bit taller. Can you see that? Can you see that? You see that right there? The word tempest also means flood. Yeah, you see it right there. Convert. You see the soldier right there. Got the soldier right there. Yeah, you see it. So, when they speaking in terms like Amity Maritime, they're really speaking about God's laws of the water, the flood, all the covert operation, things being hidden from the public. A lot of the government secrets, what they call it. They just not releasing some of the files. And the only true salvation and authority is within his name. In his name. In the name, right? He, she, whatever you want, however you want to describe. But the name is also a description too. I put out a video explaining about the name Allah, Elah, the actual concordance, from Hebrew to Greek. So don't nobody really know his true name. So, but the information that's given, you know, is YHWH. So without actually really understanding his name, what's his true name, then we are, you know, calling on the wrong deity or, you know, calling on the wrong God, right? Because obviously they given us this colorful picture, this colorful image of Christ Jesus, the Savior, which means the Savior, you know. So how we know that that image is true? That's a true image, and, you know, and the name within itself. How we know that that's the correct name? They got the witnesses going door to door, talking about Jehovah. Is there not another diversion, another deception? What she say on Friday? Are you ready for Jehovah's turn? Because if you not, what Craig do? Craig already knew. Man, them niggas lying. Jehovah ain't even his name. But you know, they can't put everything in a movie. They gotta give you, you know, something to dream about, right? And that's what they're saying. How well, don't show everything so soon, baby. Give a man something to dream about. So that's what the government doing. They ain't giving us all everything at one time. But they imposters. They imitate. They're trying to act as God by creating all these statutes and codes and calling it statutory law or commerce, which is maritime amity jurisdiction or amity maritime, however you say it. You know, the tempest is another word meaning for flood. Ain't that what it say? Therefore, he is also a convert from the tempest. The word tempest can also mean flood. So, you know, convert means to hide, right? And that's what it say? And that's what it say? The word tempest can also mean flood, right? And covert, it means to cover. It was the real and eternal hiding place when the hurricanes or the judgments of God go over the world. So let's go back and read that statement again. It say, therefore he is also a hide from the water. Shit, that what it say. He is also hidden from the water. Or it's the cover for the water. You know, then it say, believing that we are eternally lost outside this cover and that we are safe in this cover God has given. So by them giving us this color This express color, giving color. Covering up the words of God, translating, transliteration. Right. That's another reason why our people is lacking in adult literacy, because God is not involved. It's God's law. These are God's waters. God the only one that has authority and dominion over these waters. So without understanding his instructions, that's the reason why I read these devotions before I start talking about any law. Because a lot of it is you're going to get from these devotions. The word, the law. It helped me understand the law more better. It helped me understand the law more. Quit using all your adjectives. We just talk. I ain't really read nothing right now. I'm about to though. I just read both of the devotions. It look like I'm moving slow. But now, we're gonna go to, you already know where we're going to. The addition. The May edition. I did to show you. Say, dear Lord, Thursday, dear Lord, teach me to love the outdoors. What it say? Thou hast builded no tabernacle, temple, or church where man can shut. This shit a little better. What it say? When a man can shut himself away from woods or field, that has put thy sanctuary in the heart of nature. Teach me to spare a little while in the fields, where men told with growing grain or lauder alone, the pathway of the brook where poets dream and listen to the voices made only to be heard when I am alone. Perhaps thou hast some service for me to render that may be known only when I love the trees and the flowers. Forbid that these swift days of wheels and ships should hurry me on past the sacred spots of power and health, but give me power to find each day a tree, a brook, a flower, a fruit, or a stone, and find in it them a voice to slow my step. Amara, Imhotep. That's in the Mason dish. Thursday devotion. Even they know that knowledge is power. Our Francis Bacon. Even they know the quote. They put it in their devotion before they even get to Genesis. First chapter, first verse. In the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. The convert You know the information that they hide with their toy soldiers. But nothing could come. Cause nothing could test God's disciple. Nothing could come against God's disciple. You know what I'm saying? Cause right there in our face, right there written in letter characters and figures, right there in words. I even found a picture. You know another word for covert? Color. Which everything that I be saying, you know, before we even get into the law, it already be telling us certain things. So now we just got that much stronger. Right? So when we do dive into this water, you know, this sea of information, then we won't get discouraged with what we see and hear. Because we already know the words of God, what God prepared for us, what He guaranteed, what He promised. Don't forget what New York Times said, though, in their magazine. 99 million. They say it's illiterate. Shit. What you say? No, not 99, 90 million. Well, that shit might well be 99, probably 100 million now. That's what they said. And they say it was a survey. So it was like an experiment. So them saying that, that makes everything factual. Because they clearly is covering up, you know. It's a clear cover up. What's in the field? Right. See, that was today's devotion. What it says, your land paid for? With Lena Tender. They say, what did you use to pay for it? All mortgages fall under Roman law and negotiable instrument law. Is a branch of Roman law. If you use Federal Reserve notes, then it is not paid for because legal tender is forced loans and military script. Did you know that? You remember that video I had posted a while back talking about them script notes? I don't think I had posted anything. I probably do got a picture on my page. Probably wasn't no video of me talking. It was a picture. What do you say? Script notes. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Script notes. What that word anyway? These the words that's being used. What do you say? Script, a document that entitles the holder to receive something of value. 2, paper money issued for temporary use. Let's say an original document or principal writing, handwriting. So that military script. You say the forced loans of 1862 and 1863 in the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They form a part of the public debt of the United States, the validity of which is solemnly established by the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Juliet versus Greenman. Juilliard versus Greenman. U.S. 1432. All right. The rule does not interfere with the right of the victorious invader to tax the people of their property, to levy forced loans, to billet soldier, or to appropriate property, especially houses, lands, boats, ships, and churches, for temporary and military uses. Article 37, General Orders 100, the Libra Code. A common law, only gold or silver coin or legal tender to pay a debt. A common law, only gold and silver were a legal tender. Second instance, 577, McLaren and Nesbitt, second knot, and McC. 11S.C.L.519, 1820. What it say there? It say money. In the absence of qualifying words, it cannot mean promissory notes, bonds, or other evidence of debt. 36 and jurisprudence. First, money, subsection 8. You see that right now? So these the things they tried to tell us, right? Oh yeah, this is money. The term dollars, likewise, is incorrect. Pause. You know another word for covert is color, right? Which, according to constitutional definition, are monetary units used in exchange backed by gold and silver. Our present-day fiat issues are supported by more printed paper of the same. You know, Benjamin Franklin Printing House. They are correctly termed Federal Reserve notes, not dollars. Robert P. Chase Handbook of Financial Mathematical Formulas and Tables. And nobody is required to accept Federal Reserve notes. So now that goes back to all these fees, right? The revenue officers. You know, all these uniform commercial codes, these courts, and how they imitate, impersonating, committing fraud. Because Benjamin Franklin said, in a society that will give up a little liberty to gain a little security will deserve neither and lose both. That's what Benjamin Franklin said. Because they're impersonators, they're imposters. They acting in color. They operating in a color office. Color of law. More semblance of a legal right and action done under color of law is one done with the apparent authority of law, but actually in the contravention of law. Byron's Dictionary of Canadian Law, 6th edition. Color of law. Not the Black's law. Byron's law. Or Byron's law. Or Byron's Dictionary of Canadian Law. It's in Canadian law. Color of law. There's another way of saying that it is color of law. Color means an apparent semblance or simulacrum, as distinguished from that which is real, a prima facie or an apparent right. Hence, an deceptive appearance, a plausibly assumed interior exterior concealing lack of reality, a disguise or pretext. See also colorable. All definition. Colorable means that which is in appearance only and not in reality, where it purports to be, hence counterfeit. Fin having the appearance of the truth. That's case law. Wendell versus Flynn. More case law. Colorable, presenting an appearance that does not correspond with reality, or an appearance intended to conceal or deceive. E13 versus Wilson. Byron's Dictionary of Canadian Law, 6th edition. Let's say color law means the appearance or semblance without the substance of legal right. Misuse of power. Possessed by virtue of state law and made possible only because wrongdoers clothed with authority of state is action taken under color of law. Atkins versus Lanning. And these are things that they acted up under. False pretenses, pretending, legislation. One of the issues in the Declaration of Independence was pretended legislation. He has combined it with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. All because of these constructed script notes. Not understanding God's law, which states lack the literacy necessary for dealing effectively with modern life. and creates the victim cycle. All because pretended legislation created pretended lacks, colorable acts, which gives colorable effects. You heard you say God. This text is a beautiful and precious prophecy of Christ. He is the only man who is the real and eternal hiding place. When the hurricanes of the judgments of God go over the world, all because we lost sight of the word. We're gonna fall short every time. It don't matter what we do. If we ain't got God in it, we're gonna fall short every time. See, God gave us instruction, gave us words. He gave us what we need. We don't need nothing else. So that goes back to how they were using this word in school. Back in school, when I was in school, what they were doing. Did they know what they were doing? Because in the Bible, right, in Proverbs 15, Proverbs say the tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of fools pour out folly. Say the eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good. They say a gentle tongue is a tree of life. But perverseness and it breaks the spirit, a fool despises his father's instructions. But perverseness and it breaks the spirit, a fool despises his father's instructions. But whoever heeds reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. In the house of the righteous there is much treasure, but trouble befalls the income of the wicked. The lips of the wise spread knowledge, not so the hearts of fools. See, even in the Bible, it speaks about the tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of fools pour out folly. As above, so below. They say the purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Many and proclaim his own steadfast love. But a faithful man who can find? The righteous who walks in his integrity. Great are his children after him. He say the hearing and the seeing, the Lord has made them both. Love not sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes and you will have plenty of bread. Bad, says the buyer. But when he goes away then he boasts. There is gold and abundance of costly stones. But the lips of knowledge are a precious jewel, taking a man's garment when he has put up security for a stranger, and hold it alone. Can't do that. All right. The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouths of fools feed on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful heart has continual feast. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than the great treasure and trouble with it. Better is a den of herbs where love is than a fattened ox and hatred with it. A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but he who is slow to anger acquires contention. The way of a sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a level highway. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to the Lord, but gracious words are pure. Whoever is greedy for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is a joy to him who lacks sense, but a man of understanding walks straight ahead. Right there in the Bible. The heart of the righteous ponders how to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. The Lord is far from the wicked. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence. The fear of the Lord is instruction and wisdom, and humility comes before honor. This today's Bible verse. I'm just hitting the good part. How much better to get wisdom than gold? To get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver. The highway of the upright turns aside from evil. Whoever guards his way preserves his life. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. It is better to be of a lowly spirit with the poor than to divide the spoil with the proud. Whoever gives thought to the world will discover good, and great is he who trusts in the Lord. The wise of heart is called discerning, and sweetness of speech increases persuasiveness. Good sense is a fountain of life to him who has it, but the instruction of fools is folly. The heart of the wise makes his speech judicious and adds persuasiveness to his lips. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. A worker's appetite works for him, his mouth urges him on. A worthless man plots evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. A dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisperer separates close friends. A man of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good. Whoever wings his eye plans dishonest things. He who purses his lips brings evil to pass. Gray hair is a crown of glory, is a gain in a righteous life. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. The lot is cast into the lap, but is every decision is from the Lord. But is every decision is from the Lord. All in the word. You know, a lot of them, they're proud of these things going on. And they're like, they don't know what people talk about. They don't know what I'm talking about. Or they ain't never heard such thing. They ain't never heard what I said. Well, imposters, religious, those who falsely pretend on extraordinary commission from heaven, or terrify and abuse the people with false denunciations of judgments. They are punishable by the temporal courts with fine, imprisonment, and infamous corporal punishment. Imposters. Right. Today they use words like prima facie, color of law, appearance, and presume, all of which are used together and in the Matrix. Remember the Matrix? It is well settled that the code cannot prevail over the statutes at large when the two are inconsistent. Stefan versus United States. The provisions of the code are merely prima facie evidence. The law 1 United States Code subsection 204. Back for practice? Yep. All right. American Expert Lending and Company versus United States. But the legislature specifically disclaimed any intention to change the meaning of any statute. The compilers of code were not empowered by Congress to amend existing law, and doubtless had no doubt of doing so. The act before us does not purport to amend a section of an act, but only a section of compilation entitled Revised Code of Washington, which is not the law. Such an act purporting to amend only a section of the prima facie compilation leaves the law unchanged. In Bank, Rosa versus Tacoma, December 22nd, 1960. Prima facie, at first sight, on the first appearance, on the face of it, so far as can be judged from the first disclosure, presumably a fact presumed to be true unless disproved by some evidence to the contrary. Herbert versus Williams, Ohio Appalachian, Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. Because of their respect for what appears to be law, many people are commonly coerced into waiving their rights due to ignorance. United States versus Meeker, 1956. These are statements and case laws being made that people do not know. In a society that will give up a little liberty to gain a little security or deserve neither and lose both. Benjamin Franklin said it best. He can't tell if that sun rising or setting. All because they want to give out these script notes and lie and cover up and be up under this appearance of authority. It has no legal sufficient, no legal signification that the courts are bound to know, that the judiciary are bound to know. All because they won't lie. Yeah, they told us all this shit. Now you mad. But everything's in the word. Everything I just showed you, they just put it in different words and to try to keep the couple. Because you remember, they gotta cover their ass. Remember what it say? Let me show you. Remember what it said? You gotta cover your ass. And that was one of the that was in the chart. You'll cover your tail. You see it right there. Above the line. Below the line. See, it's a line being drawn. You gotta draw the line. They forgot about that line. While they trying to create new maps and draw new lines, they forgot about that. Or trying to act like they don't see it. Look, let me show you the line again. What it say? Cover your tail. See, we ain't even gotta do all that. It's right there. Cover your tail. Color. Fraud. Deceit. Imposters. All because they saying God's law. It's Roman law. Ain't no such thing. Roman law. It's only God's law. Where y'all get the law from? And they try to like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And then change the name. You know, saying things with their tongue incorrectly. Maybe people believe it. Like it's okay. And forcing people to believe that shit. Yeah, that's terrorism. It's intel. It's creating terror. Yeah. Creating all these artificial intelligence. What the hell Robbie say? Let's go see what her Robbie say. Niggas be saying a whole bunch of shit. And they be in these big ass corporations. It say, since 2017, the trend has been discussed in the media that's believed to be coming quickly and relentlessly. In short, the rise in artificial intelligence, AI in parentheses, could create global useless class, an entire group of humans who can't be able to work and who therefore contribute little to society. AI threatens to make many professions obsolete, meaning that unemployment may rise substantially. Could this really be that dramatic that an entire class could exist in every country that simply has nothing meaningful to do to earn a living? The short answer is a resounding yes. They say, or like even weapons, the product this time would be humans themselves. Harari asserted, we are basically learning to produce bodies and minds. Bodies and minds are going to be, I think, the two main products of the next wave of all these changes. You know, these are the people in these corporations that make certain statements in these magazines, like New York Times, which we read in the Oz Principles. You know, certain these facts and statements, right? Talking about, what do you say? The challenge continues as seen in the results of the Adult Literacy in America surveys released by the Department of Education. All because Harari is trying to produce minds and bodies. Remains unaware that the problem is fixed or choose to deny the problem altogether. Because people don't want to accept. You know, whenever you get stuck in the victim cycle, you can't get unstuck until you first acknowledge that you're functioning below the line. You know, things like innocence and ignorance, you know, accounting errors. You know, some CEOs aren't as smart as they think they are. And all this. What do you say? The article continues, right? Perhaps the worst news from the survey was the hubris expressed by those who were tested when asked if they read well or very well. 71% of those in the bottom grade said yes. If those surveys are accurate, the U.S. is not only significantly populated by people unprepared for current and advancing technologies, but most of them do not know that they do not know. At the other end of the educational spectrum, consider the studies that show 70 to 80% of graduated MBAs leaving their first job within the first 12 months out of school. Not because they lack technology competency, but because they cannot function effectively in the real world. Work environment, get along with people, and fit into a company's culture. You know, What it say over here is not what you don't know, it's what you know that just ain't so. Pretending not to be knowing, pretending not to know or ignoring a problem will keep you below the line and impair your ability to get results. Right. Which is 90 million Americans, which is probably more now. All AI is artificial intelligence. Group of humans who won't be able to work and who therefore contribute little to society. AI threatens to make many professions obsolete. The rise of artificial intelligence could create a global useless class. You know, all because they took God out. Emergency is justification for nothing. They even insert emergency clauses as an excuse for failing to follow their own procedures, which is further that all statutes are edicts under martial law for subjects only. The fact that the laws relating to criminal procedure in this state have not been completely revised and recodified in more than a century past, and the further fact that the administration of justice in the field of criminal law, Texas Code Criminal Procedure, if you in Texas, they know that the emergency is justification for nothing. So, you know, it don't matter what they say, what they do. It's just an appearance because of their respect for what appears to be a law. Many people are commonly coerced into waiving their rights due to ignorance. That's case law. You see it right there? So they clearly speaking about this color that's in the system, this error. You know, this pretended legislation. What it say? Say that a criminal corporation is responsible even if they let their Gestapo thugs off the hook because the party to the conflict in whose hands protected person may be is responsible for the treatment accorded to them by its agents, irrespective of any individual responsibility which may be incurred. Article 29, Geneva Convention related to the treatment of civilians in the time of war of 1949. You know, these are things that a lot of folks don't know in America and still being told these things in the public education system. Who actually made that statement about the all right. Have you seen this book before? Osprey. Have you ever heard of this book? New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller, Getting Results Through Individual and Organizational Accountability. The Oz Principle. Roger Connors, Torrance Smith, and Craig Hickman. Revised and updated. We're trying to get above the line. You know, that's all we're trying to do. Stay above the line. Right. the Department of Education said that. So start with that part then. Because they the ones who is putting this information out here for one. Using all the artificial intelligence that they have, all the media casting. And now they talking shit. Well, I just read. You know, how all this literacy and everything, how they are presenting and propagating everything. I just showed all that pretty much. And I use multiple books, multiple sources. I just use one source. I use multiple, including the Bible. Right? Including the Bible. Sources within sources, case law, a few statutes. You know, so the money is the source of all means to ends. They know what they're doing. They ignore and deny ignorance. No. What they say? Because of their respect for what appears to be law, many people are cunningly coerced into waiving their rights due to ignorance. So they're acting ignorant. So that means that if they acting ignorant, then everybody is acting ignorant. So that, all the acting I see. Because it's a managerial error. It's a billing error. You gotta give yourself credit. is coming from the books that I'm reading. So I'm not making none of this stuff up. Books. Yeah, so with all that, a lot of time, people don't be knowing a lot of what these statements being made from these CEOs, CFOs, people that are being in partnership, cooperating. And then have the nerve to say certain things like that. And think, me ain't gonna see it. Trust gonna see it. Right. So shit. They going against God's law anyway. So all that is fraud. What it say? Hold up. What it say? It's always fraud. Gonna stay a fraud. And that's what it say. Hold up. Yeah, that's what it said. It said everything is a fraud. It is all a fraud. Once a fraud, always a fraud. Things invalid from the beginning cannot be made valid by a subsequent act. A thing void in the beginning does not become valid by a lapse of time. Time cannot render valid an act void in its origin. Ex dolo melo non or retour action. Out of fraud, no action arises. Cowper 343, Bruins Max 349, Bouvier's Maximus of Law. Bouvier's Maxims. Bouvier's Maxim, that's a maxim of law. Once it's a fraud, it's a fraud. So everything they did was from fraud and deceit. And then had a nerve to say 90 million, over 90 million of Americans that considered illiterate. Well, shit, it's y'all fault. Half of the Americans was indoctrinated in the school system and public education system, so it's their fault. And that's not even talking about what your boy Columbus got going on. There's more deceit. There's more friction, more static. We got people out here being reduced all because of this fraud. They say time cannot render valid an act void in its origin. Maxims of Law, Black Law Dictionary, 9th edition, page 1832. They know what they're doing. They know all this fraud. There's not enough people to fully comprehend what's going on, so they continue to do what they do. They know. It's real. It's so simple, right? It's so simple that a caveman could do it. Shit, like ain't no way. That they really think that we wouldn't, or they really thought I wasn't gonna catch on to this shit. They thought those people was gonna be lost and never could be found. See, nah, that's where they fucked up at though. Cause everything they doing is fraud anyway. You heard what Obama said earlier today. What he said? He said color. He used the word color. So it's still this word color. What most people call black, white. It's the word color. That's the word. But people don't want to see that though. Don't want to see the word color. That's all it is. It's just that one. It's just one word. Color. Color creates all these other words. Fraud. Once a fraud, always a fraud. And it's fraud. Deceitful. You know what I'm saying? Shit. These ain't my words. Imposters. The Roman coat, imposters. The Roman coat is full of imposters. But something tells me that statues like those described below were probably used to get somebody else. The Roman culture. Their culture, nothing spooky and mystery. I already put that video out, remember? I got the book. I got their book. Want to see their book? Hold up. I got their book. So ain't nothing mystery. Ain't no mysteries about it. Right? So you ain't got to worry about nothing. You ain't got to be scared about nothing. You know what I'm saying? That me got you. I got you. Ain't nothing to worry about. I'm putting in that work. You hear me? I got you right here. It say today we gonna open up, what it say? Open up the Obama building. I forgot the name. Today they use words like prima facie, color of law, appearance, presume, the history. All right. The history. We talking about the history. Where it say Columbus called them Indians because he miscalculated the size of the earth. In this book, we too call them Indians with some reluctancy, hesitation, because it happens too often that people are saddled with names given to them by their conquerors. The books that actually really give you what you need, the substance, the source. They say Spain was recently unified, one of new modern nation states. Spain had tied itself to the Catholic. Expelled all the Jews, driven out the Moors. Right here in this book, right here, they talk about that. The Moors. Right? They talk about the Moors in this book. They say the mechanism of control was formidable. The mechanism of control was formidable. Strangers had to show passports or certificates to prove they were free men. Agreements among the colonies provided for the extradition of fugitive servants. These became the basis of the clause in the United States Constitution. Persons held to service or labor in one state, escaping into another, shall be delivered up. In the Carolinas, the fundamental constitution were written in 1660 by John Locke, who is often considered the philosophical father of the founding fathers and the American system. All right. After signing the indenture in which the immigrants agreed to pay their cost of passage by working for a master for 5 or 7 years, they were often imprisoned until the ship sailed to make sure they did not run away. Right. Right. It say in England before 16, it was meant, according to Oxford English Dictionary, deeply stained with dirt, soiled, dirty, foul. Then George Whitefield went to the Oxford College and became a preacher. Right? You know, all these things that they considered justifying slavery, you know, because they did try to use the Bible. What it say in this book? I think I done passed it. I think I done passed it. What it say in the book? In the People History of the United States. It said it in this one, ain't it? Okay, yeah, right here. It say capitalistic agriculture, the reduction of the slave to less than a human status by the use of racial hatred with that of relentless clarity based on color, where white was master and black was slave. In fact, it was because they came from a settled culture of tribal customs and family ties. They say in the year 1610, the Catholic priest in the Americas named Father Sandoval wrote back to the church functionaries in Europe to ask if the capture, transport, and enslavement of African blacks were legal by church doctrine. A letter dated March 12, 1610 from Brother Louis Brandayon to Father Sandoval gives the answer. Your Reverency writes me that you would like to know whether the Negroes who are sent to your parts have been legally captured. To this I replied that, thank your Reverency should have no scruples on this point, because this is a matter which has been questioned by the Board of Conscience in Lisbon, and all its members are learned and conscious men, nor did the bishops who were in Sao Dami, Cape Verde, and here in Loando, all learned and virtuous men find fault with it. We have been here ourselves for 40 years, and there have been among us very learned fathers. Never did they consider the trade is illicit, Therefore, we and the fathers of Brazil buy these slaves for our service without any scruple. The church said that. Right, it's another part in here though that said about the verse that you can't remember exactly what part it is. That you say with Romans 13, Romans 13 they use, and it was Psalms. It said it in the book. Yeah, I can't exactly remember. Okay, yeah, right here. It say the Puritans also appeal to the Bible. Psalms 2:8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. And to justify their use of force to take the land, they cited Romans 13:2. Whoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So that's what they doing. They impersonating and imitating God according to people history of the United States. Taking possession of what they call newly founded land. So, that's the type shit that you gotta do, which, it takes a lot of time to do. But, once it's done, it's done. All you gotta do is just keep going back to where you marked it. Because these books are being published for people to read. What they say? Harper. What they say? Harper Perennial. You see that? Harper Perennial. Modern classes. Harper Perennial. Historians may well review it as a step toward coherent new versions of American history. New York Times book review. They go to New York Times again. Goddamn New York Times. And then what it say over here? In Time magazine article. Okay. Well, yeah, Yeah, they try to they try to break it up. Yeah, Time magazine. Yeah, New York Times. You see what I'm saying? So these the books right here. What it say? New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestseller that you get these facts from. And the Bible, Trump, true American patriot or not. The Great Awakening, Alex Jones. See, these the books I'm reading. Because a lot of these people already been out here doing these things way before I was born. In the Bible, a gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness is inbreak, and it breaks the spirit. But perverseness and it breaks the spirit. The tongue of the wise commends knowledge, but the mouth of fools pour out folly. All these things in the Bible. A wise son made a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feed on folly. You see what I'm saying? all coming from these books, the knowledge. Right. Now you seen that movie, The Great Awakening? That movie by Benjamin Franklin and his companion George Whitefield. He actually watched it, man, and he tried to help him. Fucked up. Gotta make sure you have something on it. Right. All because they want to lie. They want to lie. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I don't really need too much here. I know I got a lot of books over this shit. But this is how you pull out the knowledge. This is how you bring it out. Like the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites. Bring it out. And, you know, and that's Proverbs, right? That's Proverbs. You see what I'm saying? It's really that simple though. Once you understand how they're using this word color in these speeches and these rallies, how Obama used it. So I gotta go back and clip it up. See, now that's all I'm looking for, how they using these words in the public, especially this word color. Cause just color by itself means many different things. And they only been applying it to the skin complexion. And that's what he said. Hold on. I think that's what he said. I'm trying to think what page it was on. Yeah, say with the skin. They're talking about Columbus called them in. Yeah, I think that's what it said. Say about the skin. It say although slavery was not yet regularized or legalized in those first years, the list of servants showed black listed separately. A law passed in 1639 decreed that all persons except Negroes were to get arms, ammunition, probably to fight off Indians. Say capitalistic agriculture, the reduction of the slave to less than human status by the use of racial hatred, with that relentless clarity based on color, where white was master, black was slave. Right there. All in the books. They know we don't read. Yeah, they know. They know all of. They read these books, and they act like they don't read them. They be reading. What else you gonna socialize about? ain't reading these books, what you gonna talk about? What you see on TV? You know, that's what they tried to do, justify the Bible, the historical use of the Bible to justify slavery. But God's word can be justified for the reason, for the slavery. God's word, you can't use God's word for that. That's going against God's word. You can't use his word for that. That's a violation. That's flagrant. It's a flag on the plate. Now they mad. You see how I use it? That's how you use it. You use it just like that. Don't use no other way. If you gonna use it. Cause it's in the book. It's there. You know, they try to hide it, cover it up. You know, covert. Remember the Bible verse? Let's not forget that one. Right? You see how fast we done got into other stuff and start forgetting that. What started us off, what popped us off. You know, that's very important. So when you start forgetting shit like that, then everything start getting confusing, start going back to that lower state. And then that's when, you know, idleness set in. You know. What it say? A covert from the tempest. The word tempest can also mean flood. You know, the waters. You know, Jesus on the one that calmed the storm. So when we out there in that pool, playing in that water, you know, make sure that you consider these things. Take heed to this information. You know, don't close your eye. Your mind works better when it's open. No idleness. Which means that keep occupying your mind with goodness. Right? That's the devotion for today. You know, bread for the soul, nourishing your faith daily. Not just from one source, but from multiple sources. To bring out and pull out what we need. I'll only take what we need. More power, more protection. sleep. Right, which is an unqualified term, unconstitutional. So you really can't, we can't even say, because everything we're saying is incorrect. Going to the mathematical tables and charts. A Robert P. Benchhead. All books being published. So all this shit is null and void. It trumps all that. All this is fraud. It's fraud. So he don't have no legal authority anyway. He don't have no authority. And they trying to make it seem like they got authority. They ain't got no authority when it comes to God's law. None. And then they try to act like, oh, it ain't no God. They try to do all that coerciveness. Try to do all that shit. Be cutting up. They be adding up too. This is everyday study, every day we do, you feel me? Just putting all that shit together and be like, damn, I know I read this in this book. I know I seen this in that book. Like, damn, everybody saying this shit. The fuck? Y'all niggas tweaking out this bitch. And think this shit is a joke. Nigga be laughing all on Comic View and shit. Playing around, acting. I'm like, what shit? These niggas really for real about this shit. Like, damn. They had a nerd they call it Roman law, civil law, international law. Like, what they mean by that? What they mean? So what they say in their constitution? It said in their constitution. They said in their shit. You feel me? Just keep putting books on top of books on them. You know what I'm saying? But you know what book they already trying to cover up. They trying to keep that covered up. They don't want nobody know nothing about that book. Alright. All to get people in these universities. Because the Department of Education said that we're not prepared for modern day society, for modern times. According to their survey says and then they get mad when I read this right here. When I go to reading it. What it say? What that part say? It said in the Declaration of Independence, right? In the Declaration of Independence, that's what it say. Hold on. That's what it said in the Declaration of Independence. say in the Declaration of Independence. And they Roman culture, they Roman law, which is their culture. One of the issues in the Declaration of Independence was pretended legislation. He has combined it. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution. And that's what it say in their Constitution. And they shit. So everything they doing is a fraud. Fiction communication. False information. We say false misleading statements. More rewards. Join today to save 10 cents per gallon on your first bill. Modification of grammar. Because they're using equivocal language, legalese. The language you're using is in error. All because of this word color that they was expressing and giving. How they giving us people, us Americans, quote unquote, us. How they giving us this word color. How they express and apply it. Referring to law. Yeah, they violating their own laws, shit. And they wanna get mad and shit. When niggas figure out what they doing. What they say? Blacking. To make dark, to darken, to cloud, to silly reputation. See what kind of shit I got in here, man. But black, pale, wine, to become black, to blacken. Radically one word, black, bleak, and bleach, from which has proceeded the present variety of significations. Just black, right? All that black garden they doing. Same word. See what else? Another black word I got here. Black book. Got the kids, big kids out there. Say them rich schools were Moors. I ain't looking for that right now. Just black color. I'm looking for that one where it say referring to law. I think where they had that word blackamoor in it. There you go, right there in it. Say law. Law referring colored people. Black law. A law referring to colored people. You see it right there in that definition. Of dark skin, then they try to put down there and B. This the definition. Yeah, this the one right here. This the one. I got a lot of them, but this the one. Yeah, this one right here. What this one is. Yeah. Black. Which is the Roman culture and color of law. Artificial intelligence. Who Harari said discussed in the media. All because what they said at the time in one of the Times magazine released by the Department of Education about roughly 90 million Americans, almost half the category's total population, half that category, or as far as most workplaces are concerned, basically unfit for employment. That's just unemployment. That's just employment. Those who can sign a credit card receipt but are incapable of writing a letter when they think their bills is wrong. Like the billing error, which I've been trying to explain the color, how they've been using this word color. A covert from the Tempest. You check my videos out, you'll see. I'll break it down. Break the P down. Going back to what law referring to colored people. Black law. Black belt. All over the scripted money. They call it paper money. It's right there. They put it right there in your face. Black. In reference to pigmentation, having dark color. What it said in the people history of the United States. What it said in the people history. I be careful with these books. These are 10 pages. Say capitalistic agriculture. The reduction of the slave to less than human status by the use of racial hatred. With that, relentless clarity based on color, where white was master and black was slave. In people history. 1492 present. From the Oz Principles. Law referring to colored people. Is that not color law? referring to colored people. The envelope, in reference to pigmentation pertaining or belonging to a race characterized of Negroes, Negritos, black races, the black belt, and darkness. Of dark skin or swarthy non-European people as Blackmore, the black Hindu officers. Let's say a dark complexion European brunette. Now rare. They're saying it's rare now. Wow. Then it start talking about unclean and foul. Like a lot of them damn layups. All right here in these books. All in the books. But you know, the books ain't gonna read themselves. You see how they circulate? What it say? The black blood that I now knew to circulate in my veins. Stevenson. Yeah. What time it is? 7:47. 6/18/2026. June 19th tomorrow, ain't it? He said in the year 1610, the Catholic priest in the Americans named Father Sandoval wrote back to a church functionary in Europe to ask if the capture, transport, and enslavement of African blacks were legal by church doctrine. And you know the verses they was using, right? The Puritans also appealed to the Bible, Psalms 2:18, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. Whosoever therefore resist the power resisted the ordinance of God. And creating all this, referring to law. Pretended legislator. Roughly 90 million Americans over age of 16 basically unfit for unemployment, which means that they don't know this information. They don't know more literature. They don't know this information, pretty much. That's what they saying. And by speaking in fiction and color, it's creating more deceitfulness. So it's a lot of acting going on. It's a lot of imposters. The Roman code imposters. The Roman culture.